Welcome to T3PO, or That Pod Place, Live. I am your host, VashSky, and welcome to this amazing edition of T3PO Live, where we're going to be talking about something very weird and creepy. No, I'm not talking about the upcoming Halloween season. I'm talking about the Walt Disney audio animatronic that was just revealed, actually yesterday, to a panel of advanced attendees. We actually got notified about the advanced screening of this show. I want to say very early morning yesterday, but and even I was saying, oh, I don't know if they're going to release video footage of this. Well, they did, and the world has reacted, and we will react, but we'll also go into a lot of information that we just haven't been able to actually reference or provide for the listeners, either to That Park Place or the WW Pro Show, and get into the mindset of just what were they thinking, and what attention did they really lay focus on, and how the trick was completely, maybe, undone. But before we get to all that and more, let's go ahead and get on some amazing panelists. Ones that don't have to be recreated in audio animatronic form, but maybe have connections to the great beyond right there. I'm, of course, talking about the LW Ghost. Lou, are you there, good sir?
I'm here, and I am not one who should complain, but I will anyway, because we've all seen that awful statue of my namesake over at Universal in Orlando, where he's wearing the Sergio Leone duster, and I don't understand that at all. But anyway.
Yeah,
this thing,
he looks, they made him look like an old-timey politician or kind of Americana figure.
Claghorn, whatever. Yes, exactly.
I don't know why they did that, but I guess we'll figure it out here. And the amazing, let's see if I have it. Do I have it? Thunder, Nolan Thunder. It is.
I come from a land down under.
Yes, you do, actually. More ways than one, apparently. Wow, the theme of this show, death. That's great. And also, too, from Germany. straight from Germany is one. Erika from Erika and Rap. Hello there.
And she's
Who's
already
not talking about
in
Halloween?
you're in a gravy mood, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. I love that. Oh, I love this set. Oh, phenomenal right here. We got to get a little bit of that. Look at that. That is
Best
absolutely
backdrop on YouTube right here, everybody.
Ta-da!
Look at that. The Haunted Mansion lives at Erika. At Erika and Raph's place right over there. Oh, that's amazing. Well, that's what I wanted to go with this backdrop, but it just never materialized. Ah, you see what I did there. I guess we should talk about another materialization, though, and that is Walt coming back from the dead to haunt us all at an early Halloween celebration. No, actually, it's for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland, which is just insane. Yes, the Walt audio animatronic has finally been revealed. This from That Park Place, July 14th, 2025, by Marvin Montanaro. On July 14th, 2025, Disney released details about an audio animatronic figure of Walt Disney, scheduled for inclusion in a new show at Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California. The figure incorporates technology that Walt Disney helped develop in the 1960s for attractions such as Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. Disney Imagineers have described the animatronic's movements, including eye contact, facial expressions, hand gestures, and posture shifts, as an advancement in their capabilities. It relies on audio from Walt Disney's own voice to present information about his life, work, and plans for Disneyland. Talk about that in a moment. Disney Parks released a video clip on X demonstrating the animatronic itself with the caption, "We've shared in his dream. Now see and hear how it all began from Walt Disney." Let's go ahead and get Walt's visage on the screen here. And I'm going to go ahead and skip the intro to this because it's actually kind of a little long. But here you go, the development of the audio animatronics technology, and then, boom, he is revealed right there. There's been a lot of chatter, a lot of discussion about this, especially from our panelists here at the That Park Place Network. But now we can break them down with all the time that we need. And I guess in time he will break down.
I just now realized why that suit coat and those narrow shoulders look so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they went to Josh D'Amaro's tailor to get these clothes.
Oh, that's it.
So
that's
anyway.
it right there. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think his suit is definitely ill-fitting, and I don't know if it's because of the dramatic movements that actually have him in, or maybe the portly size that they had for Walt Disney, and perhaps the tailor just didn't take that into account.
Look shrunken. He looks emaciated in his shoulders. That's the part that bothers me. And somebody was saying, "Oh, they got the clothing right." The close-ups in the making of stuff show them with the suit having a lining of Steamboat Willie. I doubt Walt ever had Steamboat Willie in his suit lining, don't you?
Yes. So if we go to Scott Gooston's Substack, thank you for the 2 advertisements in a row. Do appreciate that. I believe he has. Nope, he does not. Okay. Well, there are photos actually, and I've included them in this right here. If I can get this up on screen. This montage that I put together of this audio animatronic of Walt Disney with all the video footage I can possibly get my hands on yesterday from the very few people who actually seen this in person. If you examine those, you'll actually see like they lined it with like special fabric and so forth, and they took all tremendous care. We'll talk about all of that and more, but I want to really get your initial impressions, guys. What do you think about this? Did they achieve the impossible and bring back Walt Disney from the dead? Or should he remained in the grave?
Well, he's not. He never went away for good to begin with, because we know his brain is in a jar somewhere in the Walt Disney headquarters basement, probably in those tunnels underneath the park. So there's that. But I have to say, if the man really is gone for good, this is not a good recreation here. I compare this to like Carousel of Progress, where it's in the right lighting sense, from a distance, some of those animatronics actually kind of real. And the human eye is extremely good at identifying what looks real and what doesn't look real. That's why there's so much stuff going on with like the early stages of AI where people are like, okay, that looks kind of fake, kind of trippy, doesn't look quite right. This, I do not know if this is just the camera they're using, but it looks very cheap and fake. And I don't mean that to just be like bashing them. It's like, oh, haha, where's the budget at? Epic Universe is better than you. No, what I mean is like, okay, so his stage is barely even taking up the whole stage. It's just like a little square for him to sit on.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, his face is uncanny valley because it looks too prosthetic. It doesn't have that, because Walt is a face that kind of protrudes out a lot. It's got a lot of depth to it, and he was older by the time we were at the color TV, so there should be a lot more a feeling of wrinkles. This looks more like a mannequin brought to life. I'm not gonna act like the tech isn't impressive, but when you're trying to recreate the symbol of the whole park, and it looks about as on par with a unique AI video render without pre-existing footage, that is a concern, and it surprises me because I know there's been some criticisms to some of the recent Disney facialization. I am actually kind of a contrary to that. Like, for example, the Frozen ride, while controversial, I thought when that thing functioned, it looked spot on to the cartoon characters and brought them to life in a whole new way with new tech. This, I don't think it looks like Tom Hanks. I don't think it looks like Walt. I think it looks like something that's more of like a wax museum of Walt, but not in a good way. And that is disappointing to me because of his legacy.
Absolutely. I just want to go ahead and acknowledge everybody coming in from the pro show. Welcome in. The water's warm right here. We're just talking about Walt Disney. And Nolan, I think you mentioned something very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and put my other screen back on here. And this was what I was trying to find before, the kind of the stitchings of the suit and the lining and everything like that.
Because Walt just naturally had some Steamboat Willie silk to line his clothes with, right?
Yes. Well, and that's the other thing too, Lou. Is this an accurate representation of Walt, or is this kind of the impressionistic version of Walt that the company wants to go ahead and feature? I think that's what that is.
That occurred to me just recently. It's on a turntable, right, with Lincoln on the backside, so they can switch.
Correct. Yes.
So my question is, when it's the Lincoln show, assuming they haven't altered it, and at the end the sky forms that American flag, won't the backdrop between Lincoln and the actual projection screen screw that up mightily?
I think it will. I think it will, I mean? And that's
I'm going. That's one of the greatest parts of the show.
Correct.
And it comes from some of those cartoons they made in World War II, by the way, where they showed the American bombers heading over to Deutschland and the sky turning into a natural American flag.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree with you, and that's why when you brought that up, like, why is his backdrop so kind of narrow and it doesn't even take up all of the stage? It's because, and I can't find it right now. Oh, I think I got it right here. It's because it's going to be sharing with Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln. You kind of see how that effect works right there. Like, it's these two animatronics are on a turntable, and so when the table does turn, right, the other backdrop is going to be one befitting of the 16th president of the United States. I should know that, but there you go. That's why that's actually occurring right there. You
can see, if you look by his feet and then left and right, you can see the curve of the turntable in the floor.
Yeah.
And there too. Of course, we can only hope that nothing gets screwed up to where Mr. Lincoln starts talking about being a bumblebee.
And
about that,
please.
For many years, the film of that interview with Walt talking about it was playing in this theater in the lobby. You could see it, and as I remember it very distinctly, it wasn't a little boy; it was a little girl. And some of the other words were different. And so it's like, golly, gang, if you're going to recreate it, that film is out there somewhere where he talks about, no, I don't really draw it anymore, and I don't do the jokes. And, well, what do you do? Well, I'm like a bee, and I go from place to place. And it was perfectly fine.
Let's listen to it, actually, because I was finally able to isolate this audio and really kind of mix it so that we can actually hear it and take it in. Again, though, it has been edited just a little bit because, it's camera recording and all of that, so it's not the greatest, but we can get a little bit of insight right here as well. So let's go ahead and start playing that right now. Not that one. This one.
Moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting. We're interested in doing things that are fun, in bringing pleasure and especially laughter to people. But I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing. That was all started by a mountain. You know, I was stumped one day when the little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" You know, I was stumped one day when the little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" And I had to admit I do not draw anymore. Well, then you think of all the jokes and ideas. No, I said, I don't do that. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Mr. Disney, just what do you do?" Well, I said, sometimes I think of myself as a little bee. I go from one area of the studio to another and gather pollen and sort of stimulate everybody. It keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting. We're interested in doing things that are fun, in bringing pleasure and especially laughter to people. But I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing. It was all started by a mountain.
What do you guys think of what you've heard so far? Does it sound like Walt? I mean, they're saying there wasn't any AI used, or at least they haven't admitted to using AI. They've said that they've carefully stitched together different audio recordings and so forth in order to create the audio that you actually hear coming out of Walt Disney right there. Nolan?
Well, I think it sounds like Walt Disney plenty fine. I just don't know why I'm looking at Regis Philbin right now.
Would you like to phone a friend for that answer?
I was just about to say, you're about to win $1 million. Okay, and then this is also the actual AI Walt that they had on the Traveling Roadshow. It started in Philadelphia, which is where this video is from. But this was for the 100th anniversary. Let's listen to this one.
Into reality, when we consider a new project, we really study it. Not just the surface idea, but everything about it. And when we go into that new project, we believe in it all the way. We have confidence in our ability to do it right, and we work hard to do the best possible job. There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.
What do you think?
I think
I thought
Marty
actually looked
Sklar
pretty good,
wrote a
all
great
things
speech
considered.
once upon a time.
Lou, what were you saying?
I said I think Marty Sklar wrote some great stuff for him to say.
Yeah,
Because
that's
Marty
true.
was his muse, and wrote all this stuff.
Sure.
So they got the pronunciations right for his accent, for believe and pleasure. And they got all that very, very right. But I swear I've seen that video 100 times, and it's a little girl, not a little boy. And it isn't quite the same words. So unless it was like a different take they found in a archive somewhere of the same speech being given slightly differently, in which case, why wouldn't you put up the version that everybody's seen, or that some of us remember? I just think the shoulders and everything are really weak, and
they're too high, and his head is.
I hate to say it, but it looks like how he probably looked near the end when he was suffering from cancer. It has a kind of emaciated look to it, and the biggest thing is the nose. He had a long, angular French schnozola, and this isn't it. This isn't it.
True. Go ahead.
That and the fact that the eyebrows are permanently arched upward rather than flexible. So,
right.
Anyway,
I'm going to do that as well.
So, I don't want to step on Erika because I know she hasn't had a chance to chime in yet. But if there's one thing I want to say about this overall presentation is anyone else annoyed by just how it's overall present? Like, it doesn't do anything to hide its flaws. Because, the best directors will, hey, if our CGI isn't that good, we're going to dark it. We're going to film it in like a rainy day type setting, or we're going to have it in the dark. Horror movies do this a lot to hide their budgeting issues. I even go back to, like, say, the Hall of Presidents, which isn't like Haunted Mansion, you know, where it's all dark. You know, it's supposed to be more bright, more optimistic and stuff when you're seeing all those animatronics. But comparing to that show, you know, you have like, what, 40-something other presidents alongside the main president. It's not just that spotlight on, like, say, Donald Trump right now, because he's the current president, and he's talking, giving a speech like for 10 minutes. You get to see a little bit of everybody, which for the human eye, it's going to hide some imperfections, because you're going to be darting around your eyes to different things, and you're not going to manage every part of this. This lighting is just way too harsh here, and it doesn't do anything to hide the fact that he's a robot, and that I do not think is good presentation here.
Well, Blaine Gibson, the great Disney sculptor who did Mr. Lincoln and everything else, really, he actually was asked about this before he passed.
Correct, he was.
And there's a quote somewhere where he says, the difference is none of us ever lived with and actually saw Abraham Lincoln. But we have enough real world experience of Walt. No animatronic is ever going to be as good as that. Never. And he should have known.
Let me go ahead and put that on screen, actually, and read it right here. Lou, you're exactly correct. This was from an interview that Blaine Gibson, if you don't know who Blaine Gibson is, he is the master sculptor who originally sculpted Lincoln for the amazing
and took it
show.
From an actual mask that was made of Lincoln when he was alive.
And later on, he did this for multiple presidents that were featured. I believe the latest one was, I want to say H.W. Bush, but I could be wrong about that.
Yes.
But he was the greatest, and also put together or sculpted the partner statue that has now become iconic in Disney's parks. But he was asked about this in 1995 here, and he says this: "There are several reasons I would be against doing it. That would be recreating a Walt Disney in audio-animatronic form. And it isn't just the, quote, sacred aspect of it. I know just how crude our medium is relative to the human figure. Again, he created a lot of audio-animatronics in his lifetime. You can't get Walt's smile. You can't program that smile that I've got on Walt's statue, that being the partner statue, and have him be able to go into all of that. You'd have to move from a scowl to a smile, because Walt at times would get a twisted up expression and one eyebrow would go up. He had a facial range that was absolutely beyond our capability. Lincoln is believable because we have no personal memories of him or films of his speeches and mannerisms. Walt was a man whose movements meant something, and his expressions were so lively and enthusiastic. You can't get that with an animatronic figure. This statue to me is of Walt during one of those moments when he'd say, 'Let's do it this way.' He was very clear. You're just not going to be able to do any of this with audio-animatronics technology. Now, I understand. Look, we've had great advancements in audio-animatronics tech and so forth. We've seen some amazing things from Epic Universe and everything like that. But still, though, to embody a living person, somebody who we have a lot of footage of, a lot of reference material for, that's not an easy task, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like they were up to it.
Whether it's Epic or Disneyland or anywhere else, all those other figures are intentional, cartoonized exaggerations of real human beings. From the Pirates of the Caribbean to Frankenstein to pick them, any of them. They're not real human beings, and never were and never would be. So,
That's true. Before you go, Nolan, I know you're clapping. I know you want to get in there. I'm going to go to Erika first. 'Cause Erika,
yes, I'm sorry.
I want to get
your
opinion.
hers. I'm just applauding Lou.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
His hands his fingers don't move fluidly. That's one thing I've noticed. He looks very stiff from the torso. There's like this separation from the torso and the legs. It just doesn't look smooth. His hair needs to be darkened. It's too light. The voice needs to be lowered. It's too high pitched. And his walking movement, when he goes from sitting to a standing position, he looks like he's getting up. He looks like he's got arthritis in the lower back. That's how I look like when I'm getting up from my chair.
Well,
and on it.
compare what you just said about him, his stance and everything. compare it to Ben Franklin coming up those 3 steps in the American Adventure. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That worked. And that's a trick. That's one leg is solid and in a post and it's being moved and the other one is moving to make it look like he's walking up. Also, watch when he puts his hand on his hip there. Do that yourself, everybody at home. Don't you get the impression that there's some weight between the hand and the hip, some pressure? In this, it's like I'm twisting my arm in a funny place to look like that, but I'm not really resting it there on my hip.
That's a fair point. That's a really good point right there.
That just doesn't look real. It doesn't have weight. It doesn't have heft. Anyway, it stinks. We know that, and they're going to keep it. And so there we are.
Well, let's get into some details about this and what the thought process was for the Imagineers and how they went about all of this, because I think it really is fascinating. Before we get to that, though, look at this theme park wizard coming in here hot with the $4.99. Hey, Vash, remember when we were talking about how much this costs? Yeah, we were talking about how much this may have cost. I thought that was kind of an interesting discussion right there. Apparently, I found a permit. It was actually $5 million.
But that would be, if it's a permit, it's for adapting the theater, right?
Correct.
You're putting in the turntable. It's not the figure.
That's a fair point right there. Wizard, if you got that, please screenshot that. Get it over to me. That's from some really relevant information, because I thought, on the figure alone, you're probably talking well over $1 million for sure, because there's a lot of tech that's featured in there, as we'll go over in due time. But Wizard, thank you so much. It's awesome stuff. And Juliet, who's modding for us with the 2 British pound sterling, maybe the worst statue I've ever seen. Yeah, it's closer to a statue, I guess, than an audio animatronic recreation of Walt Disney. There you go, from Scott Gustin's Substack. Walt Disney comes to life in new animatronic at Disneyland. Even when it's practically imperfect, Walt Disney animatronic still dazzles. This July 14, 2025. I want to see right here. Okay, in a news release, Disney referred to the audio animatronic as, quote, the most lifelike figure that Walt Disney Imagineering has ever created. Disney also said it features the first ever, quote, lean to stand motion ever created for an all-electric figure. There you go, Lou. They make a point of that. When Disneyland opened on July 17, 1955, Walt Disney delivered a dedication describing the park as a place, quote, where age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. 7 decades later, Walt Disney's spirit remains at the heart of the park's identity. Let's see here. Using archival footage and restored audio recordings, Imagineers have created a show that aims to share Walt's own words and story with new generations of park guests. The figure depicts a Walt circa 1963, and that's kind of what I was feeling from what they were trying to embody, a 63 version of Walt. Past that point, he gets, like when he's pouring out the waters of the world into the small world trough right there, in what I want to say November of '66. It looks pretty rough, so 63 makes a lot of sense. Widely considered the pinnacle of his career, with historically accurate costuming and meticulous attention to his mannerisms and expressions during that time. The specific period was when Walt was working on the New York World's Fair, Mary Poppins, Disneyland's expansion, and the Florida Project. It was an era of great energy and vision, and it's one of the most familiar to fans who remember seeing Uncle Walt on TV. Jeff Shaver Moskowitz, executive producer at Walt Disney Imagineering, shared how meaningful it was to finally see the attraction presented to a full theater. He said the goal was always about fulfilling a childhood wish. Many people grew up longing to meet Walt Disney, and this experience tries to offer something close to that feeling. Disney creatives explained how they created Walt's voice for the figure entirely from his own words, using archival interviews, television appearances, and speeches. They wanted the figure to feel like you were dropping into his office for a personal chat, hearing his philosophies and reflections on his life. Like the Lincoln Show, which stitches together real Lincoln speeches, Walt's speech is a patchwork of his actual words. The Imagineers and the archival team described the painstaking level of detail in the new figure's design. During the developmental process, they studied Walt's clothing, ring, posture, and other personal items that were used as inspiration for the show. They also recreated the atmosphere of Walt's real working office, not the TV set version, to make it feel as authentic as possible. Items on display include personal photos, books, props, and even a Pinocchio maquette from the 1930s that shows a blend of Walt's past, present, and future interests. Tom Fitzgerald, senior creative executive at Walt Disney Imagineering, described the advanced features of this new animatronic. They felt it was critical to replicate signature Walt details, like his expressive eyebrows and his distinctive glint in his eyes. To achieve that, Walt Disney Imagineers studied anatomical features like the corneal bulge that creates a reflective sparkle in the eye. They also redesigned the figure's hands to move more naturally and with nuanced gestures, since Walt was often seen speaking with his hands. And there is a lot of detail here, but I just want to go ahead and kind of bring it back. All this detail, all of these, I know they consulted with like the family and like this range of historians and so forth to give it the most authentic thing that they possibly could. All that's well and good. But the problem is, if you don't buy the effect, if you don't buy the trick right off the bat, it doesn't matter. If you don't believe that is really Walt Disney, or if you don't buy into the trick being presented, being that it's an animatronic figure, made to look as humanistic or believable as possible, all this stuff doesn't matter. All this stuff just falls off because the trick itself you don't believe from jump. Is that your guys' interpretation, or am I wrong here?
It's a
No,
cheap
you're right.
attempt.
It's what could they say in reply? Well, we got the corneal bulge right. What do you want from us? I mean, it's like we don't even know what that is. I mean, seriously. And by the way, does anybody else think his hands look like the ones we've seen in photos where they airbrush out the cigarettes?
Yes, that's actually very appropriate right there.
It's like they could say, well, it looks just like in the original photos. And then you can say, yeah, but the reason it looked that way was he had a smoky right there. Like,
Tom Fitzgerald says this: we've created many animatronics figures over the years, but to create Walt Disney is both an honor and a challenge. Fitzgerald said, our goal is to capture the nuances that made him unique, the twinkle in his eye, his expressive face, and the way he used his hands to punctuate ideas. The Main Street Opera House also has an updated and renovated rotating stage to accommodate both Walt Disney and Magical Life.
That's
and
the
great
part that
moments of
scares
Mr.
me,
Lincoln.
is that flag effect is going to go away.
I think so. I think it has to, because it does interact with that.
Especially when you consider how great it is at the American Adventure when those side areas open up. That's a great loss. That's a great loss.
So good.
Look
Go ahead.
how
Noel.
retro that picture of Disney is in the background. Like, is that Rivers of America I see? How old school?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and people were making jokes about that, by the way. Let me see if I can find a little bit of that right now, because it's not lost on anybody that they removed this at a time, well, at the same time that they removed the Rivers of America over there at Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom with Rivers of America.
Can I get that as a poster on my wall?
Yeah,
Wallin, ballin', you ballin', man.
pretty good indeed.
That's wickedly right on, isn't it?
Yeah, some people were saying, hey, I think the most realistic animatronic figure is still the Auctioneer in Pirates of the Caribbean. He definitely has a far greater range of movement, but in conjunction with the show lighting and so forth.
To that point, Vash,
Mm-hmm.
he's more realistic than the many years later Johnny Depp inclusion on the ship.
Yeah.
They lost something. They can't do it anymore. They weren't trying to make these guys look like living, breathing human beings. They were trying to make them look like wonderful characters in a show. And that's a difference. That's a difference.
That's a big difference right there.
If you flip this back to Walt, I can't help but feel like with the Imagineers that they did so much trying to get, this is a very dangerous thing that you can land in when you're trying to do such a huge project like this. You spend so much time trying to get the details right, of like his mannerisms, or, like what his face structure is, the little details, and the corneal bulge, as they like to call it. that you end up trying to do so much to make something that's not a human look like a human that you end up losing the humanity in it because it doesn't benefit from the fact that it's an animatronic, like Carousel of Progress or like Pirates of the Caribbean. Instead, it looks like something that you're forcing to be Walt.
We're accumulating a bunch of terms. We've got corneal bulge, we've got shape language, and we've got antithesis so far.
Yes.
And the point is, if you're concentrating on the show and the emotional resonance with the audience, all that other stuff is just the stuff you need to get there. But if you're concentrating on, oh, we got this right, that right, the other thing right, you've lost sight of the bigger picture. You just have. It's natural. I mean, I'm not blaming these guys. They were given an assignment that, frankly, they were probably picked to be the best of the best, and more power to them. But they should have. I mean, what are they going to do? Say, no, I don't want to do that because everybody's going to hate it no matter what we do. But that's the truth. That's the truth. So
that is the truth.
They were damned if they did and damned if they didn't. And so it just
it's like the ethics conversation, right? And Nolan, I think you're 100% correct about your assessment right there, and Lou as well. But it's like the Jurassic Park ethics conversation, right? It's like you were so consumed to see if you could that you never stopped to think if you should.
If you should.
And there you go. Yeah.
And
my boy bringing out the Jurassic Park quote. You know this is real.
Well, you know, it's one of those days.
Hold on to your butts.
There you go. It's one of those things, right? But no, I mean, it's and Pro was asking me like, why'd they do this? Why would you do this? And it's like, look, remember Light Magic back in the day? Light Magic, I think was
God.
Right. It was. Okay, so you have this electrical parade, right? Everybody loves it. I mean, it debuts in what, 1972, back then, right after Magic Kingdom opens. It took a lot of its technology from the pageant, the electrical water pageant in Seven Seas Lagoon at Walt Disney World. They adapted it for a parade and so forth, but it was beloved. It was awesome. It was this amazing thing, and the Imagineers hated it. Why? Because it was like, it's just a couple of twinkle lights that go down the parade.
Sell forever.
Yeah, exactly. And we can create something so much better. Look at Fantasmic. Look at that. If we were actually given the ability to do what we wanted to do, we can create something so much better that stands the test of time and so forth. And that was the design conceived for Light Magic. It was we gotta up it. We gotta do the best. We had to up. Electrical parade, Main Street Electrical Parade. We have to do better than we can ever do.
Is we'll steal Riverdance and make a pastiche of what, pardon me, people who don't have kids think having kids is about.
Well, the Riverdance.
That's what bugged me about that. No, but it was. I'm sorry. I got all kinds of friends who are, and they're lovely people, and they are doing what they're doing, and I don't condemn them. But it was a gay couple's version of parenthood.
Well,
it isn't the real thing, and it never will be. And so, oh God, that parade was offensive.
It was terrible, right? But Riverdance, the Riverdance portion of it was when everybody tried to get their input on it. Michael Eisner, he had just seen Riverdance, and he's like, "Ooh, fairies, they're Celtic," and that's how that was introduced right there. But they were so
Lucky
consumed.
Charms, they're magically delicious. I'm a Celtic fairy. Anyway,
they were so consumed though with one-upping Main Street Electrical Parade. They were so driven by that, and when rubber met the road, or the float met Main Street, the street that is, it completely collapsed. Why? Because they had a set budget, they had a set timeline. They weren't able to deliver what they had promised originally because the technology just simply hadn't adapted or advanced up until that point right there. But they were dead set in getting it out on a certain date because they had all this kind of pre-made branded merchandise that said, hey, coming, June of whatever. And so they had to hit that date. They had to. And unfortunately, it completely collapsed. And you only got one chance to make a first impression, and the first impression was terrible. I think in this way, we heard multiple times with this Walt Disney animatronic that it was delayed, right? They had technical issues in the back end. They couldn't make their May date. They had to make July 17th because that was the 70th anniversary day. This was the only attraction that we were that we were getting for Disneyland. They promised something, they couldn't deliver, the timeline came up, and it was like, hey, whatever happens, happens. And I think that's what happened here. Go ahead, Nolan.
I remember way back when, and Vash, you're probably a better Disney historian than me, so I do apologize if I get any details wrong. Feel free to connect me here. But I do believe, going back, way back when, to the World's Fair, when they were trying to get this stuff going.
Yes.
I do recall there was someone on the team who said when they were trying to, get this big event going for the fair, the big show for Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, that someone told the guy in charge that Lincoln was not ready. Wasn't that man Walt Disney? And this was not ready. And they put a B-tier attraction out anyways.
Yep.
Josh D'Amaro, Bob Iger. You either do it right or you don't do it at all. There was no pressure for you to make that. If you want to make the investors happy, put out the Cars Extramba Jamboree. You're already doing that in Florida. Why did this need to happen? And it's already in a building with Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. This isn't even a Walt museum where you can see actual pieces of history alongside. This is in addition to a attraction that was already there. It was a cheap way to get a bump and make it look like you're doing something. I have to use constructive criticism here, sir. This doesn't work.
The answer is when you announce it way in advance and you announce a date way in advance, you're setting yourself up to fail. I want you to imagine an alternate universe in which this week, for the first time ever, we even heard this was happening. And they said, we're going to show it to the select few for 2 days, and then it opens to the world. Mm-hmm. Would we still hate it? Maybe. But we wouldn't have had all this time to anticipate hating it. We wouldn't have had all this time to anticipate controversy about it. Yeah. And it's the kind of thing. But see, you can't do that. I've mentioned before, everybody's been paying attention to the 50th or whatever it is of Jaws. When they were making Jaws and the shark didn't work, the studio said, well, we got to publicize the wonderful, magical, mechanical shark. And people went to the movie as scared as they could be by that shark, saying, boy, that sure looks real. It's an amazing imitation shark. Imagine if you never knew. Imagine if you never had all that pre-publicity about the shark and you didn't know whether it was real or fake or what the heck was going on, how much scarier it would be, how much more effective it would have been, as great as it is. So the best this thing could ever have been would have been a surprise, would have been a, hey, it's the 70th anniversary, and guess who's on Main Street? And people would have went, oh my God, wow, oh gee, and yeah, we would have heard, well, but the family didn't want it, and blah, 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 blah. But there wouldn't be any time to build up either anticipation of success or anticipation of failure. But that's not how they work. And that's partly coming out of today's movie culture, where we've seen all of these big blockbuster movies bump into each other because they've already got a release window where they're going to get the big screen theaters for 2 weeks, and after that they lose it to the next guy. So it's a management scheduling change in the culture of how entertainment is being presented nowadays, and it's not for the best. It's not for the best.
I think that's a fair point, and there's not a better way to end this portion of the segment right now.
Oh, good.
That's absolutely perfect.
I don't want to look at Mr. Whipple again.
Well, we're going to be talking about the good things that Disney have done in these last couple of days, because I actually think there are some good things that unfortunately were overshadowed by this, but it's important to reference them anyway. Thanking Heretic with the $5 when Disney Imagineers powered up animatronic Walt. They explained with great joy in modern pronouns, quote, "It's alive! It's alive!" Yes, it probably did. For sure. Thanking Heretic with the $2 exclaimed with great joy. Yes.
Whoa. Here's the difference. It versus he's. He's not alive. It's sort of alive.
Yeah, that's true.
And it should have been he. So there you go.
Yep. Born in Boston 61 with the $5. I'm a boomer. if they needed to make him so big for the animations, that should have made the whole figure larger and more proportional. This is just creepy. Yeah, I would have probably gone with a bigger figure. That's traditionally what they have done, because in order to fit as many functions as they want, you need a big housing. I remember the Imagineers talking about how they struggled to get as much motion out of the upper half of Elsa when they originally installed the original version of her for Epcot, and taking over, what was it? Norway.
Maelstrom.
Right? Maelstrom?
Maelstrom.
Yeah. And when they installed her, they were like, whoa, like we want a lot of movement.
There,
but
look, there's his hand on his hip.
Yeah.
He's actually making contact and making a weight move, as opposed to this one that the robot does.
True. But they talked about how, like, this Elsa, like,
see,
she's got a 2-inch waist. Like, how do we get all that function up there? Well, that's a real challenge, right? In this way, I think they wanted a lot of features to the head. They wanted a lot of features and all this robotics and stuff like that. So they had to make the hands kind of bigger.
By the way, talking about that, consider what we've seen of those new rides at Tokyo in the Disney Springs Fantasy whatever.
Fantasy Springs, yep.
They're not very animated. That beautiful, beautiful thing with all the little Candelarias or whatever you call them, they're just sitting there in the boat. But it's charming and it works, and you go by it and you see it, and that's another thing about this. Every other thing except Lincoln in the history of audio animatronics, you drive by it, you move through it, you move past it. You never get that long to sit there and concentrate on it.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It was going to be judged. It had to be perfect, and it wasn't. Go ahead, Nolan. You were going to say?
I was going to say, I have a solution to your Elsa problem. It might even help Walt here, you know? Why not just go with Dark Universe? Have a giant animatronic that's terrifying all the children in the audience.
Well, then don't we get the Expedition Everest problem where we have to have the Disco Yeti because he's so big and he has to have so much power and he breaks.
Walt from the Black Lagoon is coming soon.
This shot right here illustrates what I was gonna say. Like the eyes, the mouth, and everything. They're a little bit too small for the size of head. It's all pinched
together. The nose is the big problem, and the eyebrows that never move.
I think the mold might have been accurate, but when they actually put it on that head, I think there was a little bit of disproportion between the two, and that's what complicated.
And that's
things.
why you build enough time in, and enough leeway in, and enough secrecy in to say it didn't work. Do it again.
There you go. Terrible. But what isn't terrible though is actually the pre-show before. I want to go ahead and put this on screen right now. This is actually from Mike's chat, who was able to capture this, and you can see the pre-show room right here. It actually looks really, really, really good. It's a combination of Lincoln, at least for now, but it honors the 70th anniversary. It honors Walt. It goes through his life. It goes through audio animatronics technology. It's actually really, really cool stuff. Apparently, they do have
the birds.
The birds, and they do have the real furniture of that was featured in the apartment on Main Street before it was actually replaced. But this is the real stuff right here, so that's really cool right there. Very cool stuff. They have vintage hats, as you can see right there throughout the years. I got a couple of those. You could see concept artwork that some of it we've seen before, but some of it they recently just found. That's really, really awesome stuff right there. We see some, merchandise items, commemorative coins. I mean, this is really a historian's dream, and I thought this was lacking from the 60th anniversary and has been lacking from the 70th so far. Good to see it actually featured really, really cool stuff. I believe
this is more like it. This is what I want.
Yeah, this is what I want too. Walt Disney World News Today also had their video going through it right here, and there's just so many exhibits, so many displays, so much great memorabilia. In fact, I believe the Walt Disney Family Museum said that there were at least 30 items on loan from the museum in order to ensure that as much of this kind of these historic pieces are featured as possible. So that's really, really cool stuff. This is good. I thought, hey, you know what? A+ from me. And a lot of people have been worried about Splash Mountain and whether or not they'll reference it ever again. Apparently something kind of snuck through here. If we go to about 10 minutes on this video right here, we can see a display of all the stuff in Critter Country / that kind of back area of Frontierland, Bear Country, that kind of thing. And we can see, let me see right here.
Could it be?
Right here. References to Splash Mountain. It exists, folks. This actually happened, and now Disney's giving us the proof. We can see some of the.
If they'd only had Walt whistling Zippity Doo Dah, we would have been happy.
Oh,
but
all sins forgiven. Go ahead, Nolan.
Yeah.
But I'm offended.
You're just gonna have to stay offended.
Join the club. Everybody nowadays is offended.
Dang.
Oh,
offended
you know
is
what?
the status quo for 99% of the population, it seems to me. And you know what?
Nolan,
Who cares?
go ahead and put your comment card and why you were offended in that little receptacle right there. Don't mind the sound it makes. It will be read thusly, I'm sure.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
There you go. That's perfect. But no, I like this. I like how they don't shy away from the history. They actually do feature it. That's pretty cool. The one-man stream has been updated to include Bob Iger. That's something.
Well,
and,
that presumes Bob Iger dreams.
Yeah.
I used to only see Bob Iger in my nightmares.
Oh, there's Bob dancing on that. No, anyway.
Jungle Cruise Crocodile. That's super cool. Look at that bird. Look at that. They got those names moving around. That's great stuff.
Oh boy,
let's not forget, historians, that originally the Tiki Room was going to be a restaurant.
Yes.
And suddenly they realized, A, we can't cycle people through as often, and B, I'm not sure people want to eat with all these birds overhead.
I would.
Yeah, well, because you knew they were fake, but what if they were more realistic?
Yeah, Raleigh Crump talked about it back in the day because this is before audio-electronics technology. This is before they'd ever done something like this. And it was like, well, wait a minute. If you do birds in there, how are you going to have a restaurant underneath? Because, these birds are going to excrement in the food. And he's like, no, we're going to make them robotic. We're going to make them audio animatronic. So that's kind of where all that conversation and the term was born, actually. But they didn't just... provide references to the past in this kind of temporary display. They actually made something permanent, which is really, really cool. From Disneyland News today, Lillian Disney honored with window display on Main Street, USA in Disneyland. In a post on Instagram, the Walt Disney Family Museum has announced that Lillian Disney has received a Main Street, USA window dedicated to her honor. Lillian's new window display is located next to the Disney Showcase Shop on Main Street, USA, just a few doors down from the upcoming location of Walt Disney A Magical Life, which opens in just a few short days. This is a fitting pairing, as today is the couple's 100th wedding anniversary. And
what job did they give her in the window? Most of them, they give them kind of cute takeoff jobs.
Yeah, so let's see here. The window display advertises for a store called Lily's Bountiful Blooms. Just below the marquee is a banquet of flowers with flowers and fancies written across the scrollwork. Many more bouquets and planters of flowers surround the window's balcony.
Should have said
Other
petrified logs is specialty.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's a good reference right there. Other details added to the balcony in front of the window include a painting of the Main Street Firehouse, where Disney's in-park apartment was located. A plush of Mickey is also positioned in one of the white chairs as a nod to Lillian's urging of Walt to change the character's name from Mortimer Mouse to Mickey Mouse. A violin, a music stand, and a birdcage can also be seen on the left side of the balcony. I believe Just Danny had a little bit more here. The oil painting of Walt Disney's apartment is a nod to her, as she was an American ink artist who worked at the studios. Additionally, the little bird in the cage is a nod to the bird cage animatronic Walt and Lillian bought in New Orleans, which ultimately inspired the Tiki Room. I think that's pretty cool, and they debuted this on the wedding anniversary, so that is really cool. And they didn't even do that. They actually honored all of this stuff, well, with Bob Iger and Josh Giamaro. Take that as you will. But if you remember, the wedding anniversary actually took place at the Golden Horseshoe Review. And it was
a night or two before the grand opening. They had their party there.
Exactly. And it was this really cool occasion, and Walt actually climbed down from a balcony, and it was crazy. It was a wild party. and then they spent some time on the Mark Twain afterwards. But they actually had a recreation or small little recreation dedication to that same anniversary celebration in the Golden Horseshoe that occurred, 70 years ago. So that is super, super cool.
Wow.
You can kind of see that right here. They got obviously a nice portrait of both of them. They have the recreation of the wedding cake that was cut
I hope
right
it's a
there.
recreation. That cake would taste really gross now.
You can see Diane and I believe Sharon right there. So that is actually pretty cool. That's, I gotta be honest. That's awesome.
Now they did that
Good to
in
go,
a sensitive way, in a way the family can only endorse. So how come they had to do the other thing?
I don't know.
I mean, it's the same management. It's the same chain of command.
Yep.
And
Isn't it
they're
weird?
all over the map. They're all over the map.
I think, okay, so to do it on the 100th anniversary, on the 70th anniversary of the anniversary of the event, right? You kind of had to do it before the Walt Disney animatronic actually makes its debut on July 17th, right? But the problem with the Walt Disney animatronic kind of sucking up all the air out of the room, and not in a good way, is it had overshadowed this stuff. And I thought that was really sad. So that's why I wanted to feature it here, so it doesn't get overshadowed.
I'm glad you did.
Thank you.
I really am. Absolutely.
Very cool stuff.
I still think it should have said petrified wood, our specialty. But anyway.
yes. If people don't remember the story, Walt Disney came home with a big old petrified tree stump right there, and he was like, "Hey, Lily, got you something for your garden." And she's like, "No, but you can take it to the park, and I'll just go ahead and put it there." So
we'll donate it to Disneyland. Yeah,
she donated it to Disneyland, and it still sits there today.
It's been there to this day. Yes.
Indeed. Let's see right here. I want to go ahead and get some of these super chats up on screen right now. I believe we got that. And let's see. Aldo Casabona with the 199. I have a few philosophical thoughts I'd like to add. Well, please.
Go ahead.
Lay them on us, Aldo.
Go ahead and add them. You asking for a link right here? I can go ahead and get you, but I am going to go dark here pretty soon. So let me go ahead and get a copy of that over for you. You've got about 2 minutes, although I'm going to give you 2 minutes to get right in here and add your commentary and your thoughts. Here you go, right there. Check your X. Guys, do you have any final thoughts on all of this and more before we head out?
I think it's sweet and endearing, and I wish the parks reflected more of all of this. Walt. I can't stand how Disney will give us a bone, but this doesn't permeate throughout all of their products. That's the problem. They'll give us a bone every now and then. This is the bone we're getting right now. And then they're going to go back to the crap that they're doing. And it kind of adds salt to a wound,
If they're finally honoring spouses, it makes me nervous because I wonder if they're going to change the name in Florida to Willow Bay Lake.
That's funny right there. But you can see Bob Gurr, actually, famous Imagineer, talking about the petrified tree stump right there. I thought that was pretty cool. And on time and on schedule. Aldo, you got thoughts?
Hey. Can you hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Perfect. I just wanted to propose an idea, like what if Disney? Okay, Disney wants to do this. Disney is they want to do this so bad that they disregard the thoughts of the granddaughters, everyone. They want to do this so bad. Okay, I feel like they would have done a better job in creating this animatronic if they would have made him younger looking, not like what if they, look at that face. So I think that as a storytelling company, imagine they create him like they create a young Walt animatronic, like a young Walt, like as in a let's say before he built Disneyland, like we create him like with the brown hair, all of that. I like with the dreamer Walt, like like he's dreaming up on Disneyland, and like I would imagine that first of all it would have been much easier to recreate, because you can ask any like cartoonist, any any actual
Well, not only that, although
Yeah.
we were not as familiar with him at that age because he wasn't on television every week. So there wouldn't be that mark of comparison. That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly. And also you can ask any like person who draws, like it's much easier to create like a person with less wrinkles, less age in form, than a person that's has much more age. So that there's that thing about the comparison, and then there's the thing that it will be much, I feel, easier to portray him as a buildable figure, and then there's the other thing that I feel like could also, like, imagine they screw that up too, like the build, the actual look of him. It would be so easy for them to have done that, and then like I know this is a storytelling company, so I would imagine they think about this, they would have thought about this, but imagine how storytelling wise it would be like nice or like dramatic. Like I could forgo like every problem I have with the animatronic, like how it looks, like even if he doesn't look at all like him, maybe, well, it has to look a little bit like him, but if he was like a young Walt, imagine a young Walt like dreaming, and then like without adding so much stuff, he would say something like, I don't know, like what he's planning to build, and then there's like the juxtaposition of, okay, he builds it. Imagine what would he think right now, like the young Walt who didn't build anything, I mean, who didn't build the park yet, compared to now where we are at. I know, like, maybe he wouldn't be happy, I don't know, but like I feel like it adds storytelling, it adds a notion of that couldn't be portrayed with like okay, there's an aging Walt. I feel like he looks like maybe they created him in a way that looks like his last days, and I feel like it would be so easy to create a Walt that's maybe has almost the same speech, but like with the idea that he's young, and like it would create a different impact on the audience, I feel, and without doing much, but it would create like a much, like I would be left thinking like, wow, that's Walt looking at the audience, everything he's built. I don't know, you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
And let me suggest something else along those lines. Mm-hmm. If you had him telling, instead of the Bumblebee story, telling the story about, I used to take the kids and I'd see the kids playing and the parents sitting on the bench eating peanuts. You know that famous story he tells.
Absolutely.
And I thought there should be something built where the parents and the children could play together.
That's true.
That would have been so much more powerful. And it would have given an audience that maybe is not familiar with that a whole real understanding of where this all came from. But of course, the dinks wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
That's
true. There you go. Anyway, I think that's a good insight. I really do.
And I do appreciate that. Amazing insight, Aldo. There are so many different ways that they could have taken this, maybe made more stylistic choices rather than a very authentic representation and trying to bring them back from the dead, basically. It's just, they didn't. So.
You know, the phrase that came to mind when Aldo was talking about how it is now.
Huh?
death warmed over. And I don't mean that to be funny. I mean that's really what this is.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a grinning ghost of Walt Disney.
Okay, that was funny.
And he came out to socialize.
It's like they took him out of the frozen refrigerator that they have him in, and then they just put it there. Like it's not. Hey, it's like for real. Like maybe they took a look at. I don't know. Like he. I don't know.
Babe, to go along with the Haunted Mansion commentary right there.
There's no turning back now.
That's
go
true.
back.
That's true.
And
Vash, on the pro show, you said you thought maybe after a year they'd pull it. I don't see how they can ever. I just don't.
Why not?
Because this is where they've planted their flag.
Yeah.
And because of the absolute inability of anybody in this management to ever admit even the possibility that they might have been wrong.
Yeah.
I'd say this is worse than Rivers of America, worse than anything. Like I'm flabbergasted, and like the story he told, like a bee. He's a working bee. It's not impactful. Like I didn't even think about the story about the bench. Like I don't think there's any like video of him saying that, or is there?
There is. There is.
Okay.
There is.
Well, but like I say, the one I remember, he says a little girl, not a little boy, and he says it differently. So whether this was from like an outtake of him trying to tell the same story in a different way or what, I don't know. But that video used to play in that building, for God's sakes. You'd walk in and that would be playing out there in the lobby.
And it's not like we haven't gotten depictions of Walt before in various other medium right here. This is from Madame Trudeau's right here. This is their version of Walt Disney. Wow. Now, again, this is a kind of a wax figure. This is not an animatronic, but you can kind of see just a little bit more, closer for similar to Walt.
Boy, that's much better.
Yeah.
Looks good.
The hair's a little off, but otherwise, man, is that better? And talk about the whatever fancy word they used for the glint in the eye and this. It's real. It's real.
And the actual animatronic that they actually did feels stiff, not only on what you all said about the body, but the face. The face feels like he's doing like this. Like this. Like
yes.
I don't know, with his nose he's putting like a weird face. And
that's so true. Nolan, I know you've been dying to speak, so go ahead, please. You were going to say?
Oh, no. Well, I actually moved on from whatever I was going to say. I think that Walt animatronic scarred me so much that I've completely lost all my thought process. I will say, though, in closing, that you would think that, with how good the wax figure is, they would have used it as like a reference, like maybe transport it over there, call them up, be like, hey, can we borrow this for a little bit? Kind of like how they did with the Lincoln face mask way back when, because, they had to get it right. And I'm sure they had plenty of reference photos on set during this, because I think it's ridiculous to say like, oh yeah, they just looked at a screenshot on their phone, just like, all right, let's make a figure, grab the hammer. Like they clearly were trying, whether they were able to deliver or not. The problem is when you're doing something like this, unfortunately, this is a situation where it's not hitting the nail it needs to hit. And I wish they thought a little more out of the box to like make this really come to life, because this was already a questionable endeavor to begin with. It's kind of like a Splash Mountain ordeal where it's like, hey, you're getting rid of something beloved that people don't want to see go away. Here was something a lot of people didn't want to see added to the park to begin with. And when you do that, you already are playing defense. You got to prove it. And I think the only thing they did was they proved their haters right.
I can't deny that. That's for sure. I mean, for as many criticisms against the idea, I think Nolan's right. I think he just proved him exactly 100% correct. Juliet coming in here
to want this, to want respect on their own company, their own founder.
Yeah, that's totally true. Juliet with the 2 British pounds sterling. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. That's a good point right there. Nolan, now you can share right there. Fantastic stuff. Remember to do that as well. You know, I've been keeping track of the story, though, that's been breaking here. This is very interesting for like the last hour or so. Apparently, they're filming something for Freakier Friday, actually, at Tomorrowland Terrace at Disneyland right now. Which is very interesting stuff. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's like that music video for. I wish Trish was here. Like, I mean, on one of the episodes of The Lost Guys we did. Sorry to step over you, Vash, there. But
no,
I know there was a music video. We did an episode on malls. And one of the music videos, I think it was for Girls Just Want to Have Fun. No, it wasn't that one. It was, I'm sure someone in the chat can remember. But they actually filmed the music video at a mall. And it actually became part of history as a result. I think that is so awesome. Embrace it. Let your fans be a part of history as opposed to you're telling them what to have fun with. Like, this is more like it what I expect out of Disney.
I agree. It's important
I'm happy to see the Tomorrowland Terrace stage working again. For a long time, it didn't.
Yeah. I know it does go up and down again, which is very, very good. But and actually used for a band, that's very cool as well. So I'm looking at the stars here, and I've been studying some photographic imagery this entire time here. I believe that's Julia Butters there. I believe that's Jamie Lee Curtis. I believe that's Maitreyi, one of the daughters there. And that, by the way, you know who that is? That's Manny Jacinto. Now, maybe the name doesn't necessarily ring a bell, but I can tell you the work does. Do you remember the villain from the Acolyte?
Power of Many?
Oh, yeah.
That's
I don't recognize him with his clothes on.
He plays, I think, the love interest in Freakier Friday. I haven't seen Lindsay Lohan. I can't.
Yeah, where's my girl Lindsay at, Vash? I put you in charge of that.
Chad Michael Murray's right here, but I can't find Lindsay. Now, she does play a singing role, so maybe she's, maybe on stage with the band. I'm just not entirely sure, but that's pretty cool right there, filming for that movie at Disneyland. It's always a special thing.
When was this?
That's pretty cool. Huh?
Yeah,
when was this?
For those who
this is
don't
just
know,
a couple hours. This is like an hour ago.
You see those pots and those towers over there on the left? That's above the band where you saw it. Comes up out of the ground. It's the stage for the Tomorrowland Terrace.
It's weird because the movie's releasing like in a few weeks, so I think this might be promotional, right?
Yeah.
Well,
wait a minute.
It could be. That's what I thought. But then you had like all the cast there. Usually all the cast is not there when they do stuff like this.
Well, so I think it's promotion. It's probably some kind of premiere thing that they're going to run on Disney Channel or ABC, where they interview the stars and they talk about the movie. And here they all are at Disneyland celebrating the 70th and their new movie. One of those kind of things. Because they don't look like they're particularly in character.
Yeah,
no.
That's a fair point.
Maybe if they were, Manny would be naked, but that's another story.
The movie comes out on August 8th, so they have they couldn't possibly still be filming.
Okay,
I mean, I guess.
I believe I want to get some video footage of the bandstand going up and down, but I can't seem to find it right now. Trust me, folks, it does actually retract, lower and raise, which is really, really cool. And it was kind of one of those futuristic ideas of like,
it's as close as Disneyland comes to a Utilidor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I've been down there, and it's a dank dungeon indeed. But boy, you got to be bopping and singing when you come up out of the ground there. So.
Yep. And it's always a cool event right there. But I can't find it. But trust me, folks, that's how it goes. Anyway. That was cool. That was a cool show right there. Let's see. Let's go around the panel and make our exits. Nolan, what we got going on over there in your neck of the woods? Maybe perhaps a little something to do with, I don't know, that game place perhaps?
Yes, actually I do. Actually, we just had another stream here this last Saturday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And it was an awesome time. We covered how the FBI, the three letter acronym itself shut down a Nintendo Switch piracy website. You go to that website, you get that big scary warning. You're afraid your computer's going to explode or the FBI is going to smash through your window and sick you. Also, Nintendo has been bricking systems when they identify software on it that they do not like. So we covered a bit of that here last week. So if you want to catch the replay, it's in the bottom left there. It's another switch in the wall, little Pink Floyd reference for those who got it. We have another stream coming out this Saturday. We'll be covering more of the gaming news sphere. And if you guys love video games, please check it out. It's a lot of fun. Me and Culture were firing all cylinders last weekend. But you should be also seeing Kevin Apollo coming back this Saturday. It is so much fun. It's a blast. And we got amazing people in the chat who show up, such as the wonderful Juliet. So please, if you like gaming, please check out That Game Plays.
Absolutely fantastic stuff right there, and thank you so much, Nolan, for taking that on. I know, I remember that conversation when we had New Lorraine, and we were like, "How's it gonna go?" Well, you've been doing a great job, so thank you so much for everything that you do, Erika. What you got going on over there at Hanging with Erika and Raph?
Not a whole lot, just in limbo, honestly. But stream surfing, so you can find me here. Lorena's Spice Lounge and her Resort Recon on Saturdays. Sundays, Florida Man stream. So that's pretty much where I'm at these days, just kind of hopping around wherever I'm invited.
You and Madame Leota there are hanging it, so that's good.
Yes.
I mean, you aren't totally idle. You're busy haunting a house.
That's good. Yeah, exactly right here. Look at this. Look at this backdrop right here. You gotta love it.
That's my Madame Leota build. I built her. And
that's amazing.
Yep.
So fantastic.
Show me how.
I love that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
we're all super jealous right here.
I actually have a video on how I made her on the channel.
Oh yeah, now that you should promote because people are getting ready to decorate for Halloween.
So if you're into the Halloween thing, it is pre-season for us Halloween people. I have pretty much how I set up things and how I built my builds. So from my bride, which is she still needs work. She needs a lot of tweaking. I think this year I might do a floating table if we're still here. We'll see what happens. We could be moving by then.
I like that. I like that a lot over there. Aldo, was there anything that you want me to promote right there? I would hate to send you off without a little bit of a plug.
Oh yeah, thank you. I just wanted to share my thoughts, so I wasn't ready for this.
Nobody ever is. That's
exactly.
We like
you just gotta hit the record button and see what happens. Boom. Well, Aldo, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, follow me on Aldo Casabona. That's my
Casabona.
Yeah, channel name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to post blogs. And then I'm gonna start like a podcast interviewing people from the industry that I met. So there's that. I'm still a little catching up from videos that I need to post from 2023. I'm on Friday. I'm releasing a how would you say, like a reality show style movie about a cruise, a Disney cruise I went to, but it's in a reality style. So that's fun. With some friends, I went there, and I'm releasing that. It's 2 years old, but like Nolan, you're never old when you, like do it with care and it's always gonna be how would you say
forever young
and fresh if it's done with care.
Although they used to give out a Mickey Mouse driver's license at the Autopia at Disneyland. I don't know if they still do, but it was a replica of a California license. But when it got to Mickey's date of birth, it gave the date of the premiere of Steamboat Willie. But then in parentheses it said, "Yet eternally youthful." So there you go. I still have one somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Well,
Thank
speaking
you.
of Lou, what we got going on the genre
Well,
guys?
if anybody knows, you do. But the genre guys have been cruising along. That's Hangry and Lauren and I, and Nolan fills in when Hangry is too hangry to be there. And we just did a couple of great movies with Nolan. A wonderful documentary about pinball. Very strange documentary. I'm sure Nolan would agree with me, although he knows strange people in gaming, so it wasn't that strange to him, but for the rest of us. And then we did the fantastic Antonio Banderas Zorro movie with he and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And see if this isn't the Bond opening, only done Zorro style. Chick,
Yeah.
chick, chick. I mean, that's, and of course it's a movie noted for its Welsh people playing Mexicans or Spaniards. Between my old pal Tony Hopkins and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And coming up next, we have a couple of fantastic movies. Anybody out there like scary stuff? Erika, I bet you do, right? No?
Nope.
With all that around you? Well, one of the
know.
movies we're going to do next is called Seconds. And it's one of the scariest movies ever made, in my opinion, because it's not a horror movie. It's a scary movie. And it is especially wonderful with Rock Hudson and Will Geer and John Randolph, but especially because not only the direction of John Frankenheimer, but the cinematography by the amazing James Wong Howe. And it's in glorious black and white, and it'll scare the pants off you if you watch it. And then the other one that's fun, if you like boxing movies or you like the Sting and con game movies, this is both. And it's James Woods and Louis Gossett and Bruce Dern as the bad guy. And it's called Digstown. And it's a romp. It's a lot of fun. Go watch it. And then you can see us talk about it next. And I don't know what's coming next here, Vash. What's your next one coming out of the factory? Because for those who don't know, if you are a member of the Pro Show and the Pro Channel, you get to see these when they come out fresh. If you're not, and you come here approximately 2-3 months later, maybe 4, 5, 6. Vash re-edits them and enhances them, and they're here for everybody, regardless of membership. So, what's next?
I thought the next one might have
Vash,
been
I think I can
Chinatown.
answer this for you. I think the next one going up is actually the coolest ice video of the Lost Guys. I think that's the next thing we're coming out here, right?
No, the genre guy.
There's no rivalry going on between any of the shows. No, nothing like that.
This is
so Chinatown is going to be good. Well,
I believe so. Yes. I think
And,
that was next on the list right there.
of course, we all
I'm
know
in that one.
Chinatown, Jake. Lots of movies, and then of course every Sunday, Vash and I get together live for the Hollywood Backlot with Lou. That's me. That's you, and we're building up to a special show because I got to take a week off for some travel, and so rather than live, that show will be in the can. But it'll be in the can with all of your questions on how the movie business really works, as opposed to the cock and bull stories you get told in the media. So what's that famous address they send them to again, Vash?
Absolutely. It's T3P online at yahoo.com. There you go. You can see that right there.
I'd like to ask questions from somebody who's actually been in the room when contracts have been negotiated and been behind the scenes, and I've been places I won't tell you. But anyway,
well, okay, so Lou, I just wanted to go ahead and ask, and I might as well ask you now. Which week is that again? Just make sure I got that taken care of.
Oh, that's going to be, what is it? August 10, 11, 12, that weekend.
Gotcha. Okay. So that way the audience knows, and that way I know. So there you go.
Well, we got to get it in the can before then, so we got a couple of weeks to do that.
We got a couple of weeks. That's for sure. But Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you every single Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, as Lou said right there. Send us your questions at T3P online at yahoo.com. We definitely need them for that show.
August 10th would be the date for that special show. Yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect. You can find me, VashSky, that is on That Park Place every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then, T3PO Live, the show you're watching right now, 3 p.m. Eastern, following the Pro Show. Following this show, actually, we're going to go ahead and redirect you to Rock Radio from Prelude Studios right there.
Rock on,
I know
brother.
Pro has been working on some amazing stuff, and we got to get you over there and get you listening to some amazing rock music. Usually we have Mr. H after this, but I couldn't find it. So there you go. Don't
Even
blame me,
Mr. H is rocking out to that music.
That, you know what? That's a good point right there. I love that, and I'm sure he appreciates that as well. There you go. You're hearing that music right there? That's to get us out.
That tinkly music.
Indeed.
Oh, it's the eviction notice. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Make sure you like, subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. Share us out if you really do like us. And we will see you next time here on T3PO Live. Take care, everybody. See you then.